How do I mute myself? Like this program it gives you no controls.
I don't believe it lets you mute yourself.
Okay, all right, fine. Let's do
Sorry,
it.
no worries. All right, ready? And hey guys, Jordan Connect here. Welcome to another episode of Embrace the Chase. And I am pumped out of my mind as we are getting close to the Christmas season because it is episode 43. We have flown by this year, and we have Chris Do on today. And for those of you that don't know who he is a legend. You are going to absolutely love him. You are in for a treat. But let me go ahead and fill you guys in on what he's done and what he's a part of, because he has an incredible team over at two companies that he owns. So he's the founder and CEO of Blind Inc., as well as The Future. So to kind of break this down for y'all, Blind Inc. was founded in 1995. And it's a pioneer of motion design. So today, Blind continues in the tradition of excellence by bringing a world-class team of strategists, designers, filmmakers, writers, and animators to create truly memorable video content. You've probably seen a lot of their stuff because they've garnered 2 Emmys, 3 Clios, multiple gold and silver BDA awards, MTV, VMAs, DNA and D Pencil, Telly, Addy Gold, Elfie, ADC. I mean, this list just keeps going and going and going, and I love it. And The Future, for those of you that aren't aware of what that is, it's an education platform that I'm really pumped up about and passionate about because it's going to shake up the education system going into the future. And it's just where professionals can learn business principles, and they basically help entrepreneurs. And I'm just really, really excited to have you on. I'd love to just keep going on your repertoire a little bit more. But, sir, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
First of all, thanks for having me on the show, and you did a wonderful job of setting it up. So I hope I do not disappoint.
No, your stuff is absolutely incredible, and we're in for a treat. But if you could do me a huge favor,
sure.
Some people, contrary to popular belief, that I'm mad at them for not knowing who you are, but could you just start us from the very beginning? Tell us your story. What led you to start both these companies, and what's led you to where you are today?
All right, let me try and keep this succinct. I started Blind in 1995, straight out of college. I basically freelanced at a couple different companies and decided this wasn't for me. I had this opportunity where I was invited to start a company, and I jumped at it because for as long as I can remember as a little kid, I always wanted to run my own business. And those roots of entrepreneurship started out just by hustling and selling candy to my classmates, and then moving up into designing t-shirts and selling that. So I knew I wanted to sell or make something of value to people. It wasn't until later on that I realized I love design, and that could be something that would differentiate me from everyone else. So 1995, graduated from Art Center College of Design with the degree in graphics and packaging. But as getting out of school, I fell in love with then unknown term motion design. I was moving things around in Cosa After Effects, and I really thought, this is really super cool. I get to direct little characters, typography, and move them around and frame shots. And so this was a brand new world, and it really excited me because it seemed like the learning curve and the ceiling to what you could do was infinite. And so that's why I pursued that. That's why I started Blind.
I love it. So then, question for you. When it comes to your working relationship with your wife, and this is a question that you answered in your show earlier today, and it's something that I'm just curious about. So I'm happily married, been married now coming up on 1 year. My wife is a huge support system for me, but how do you all find the way to balance out your marriage as well as your businesses?
Mm-hmm. My wife and I met at Art Center. She's an incredible graphic designer and also, as it turns out, a really great animator too. For the first couple of years, we worked hand in hand. I was basically going out to sell the work, to talk to the clients, and I leaned on her to do all the design work. And we worked perfectly, except for something happened along the way. And those of you guys that work together with your partner, with your spouse, there can be problems that crop up. It's because I was switching hats all day long, and she only saw me as her husband or boyfriend at that time. So I would talk to the client, and I would talk to her, and it came to a boiling point one day, and I gave her some direction based on what the client feedback was. And I spoke very quickly, and maybe I was curt, but I just had to get the information to her. And then she turned to me, she's like, "Don't talk to me like that." And I was surprised. I'm like, what do you mean, don't talk to you like that? Like what? She goes, like I'm your employee. And the word employee, she said it with such disdain. Because for her, I was her husband, her support system, and everything else that came along with that. And when I said, the clients want this, I need this done by 4 o'clock today, and then please make these changes, like I talked to everybody. And that was a moment in which we had to make some big decisions together because she did not take that well. And so since then, we've had to really separate our roles if we wanted to survive as a married couple. I also had to make a really hard decision. Do I want to be with this woman for the rest of my life, or do I want a creative partner, but not one that I was going to have a relationship with? And it didn't take me very long to make that decision. I'd rather keep her as a wife and not as an employee or even a design partner. That was worth way more to me. So we began the slow process of separating our roles and giving her some distance away from the business. But there was a second reason why we needed to do that. And that was we could never take a vacation without the whole company taking a vacation. Imagine the lead biz dev, creative director, and your lead art director, designer, and animator both wanting to leave. Who is going to manage the company? We then needed to build a support system and an infrastructure and a process so that other people can do the work for us, with us, while we're away. First step, remove one of us. It had to be her, because if you remove me, there's no new business coming in. So we took her out of the situation. Then eventually I hired people to replace me as well. And that's how the company runs today.
I like it. I like it. That's great advice. So then going off of that, what's your thought process on compartmentalizing your life? You know, should people keep work and their personal lives separate, or should we find a way to blend them together?
I can only tell you, Jordan, based on my own experiences and the things that I prefer. When I go to work, I'm just work. I'm not really thinking about home. And when I go home, I don't really want to think about work either. And that was especially difficult when you return home to your business partner. And I didn't want to talk about work anymore because I needed to literally decompress from the day, because it takes a toll on you. Maybe something went wrong with the client, or maybe you're trying to solve a creative problem and you can't just figure it out right there. And so immediately I'd come home. She's like, how was your day? Tell me about work. And I didn't want to talk about it. I started to close up, because this was my moment to kind of recharge my batteries, if you will. So oftentimes I would come home, have dinner, and sit in front of the TV and veg out. And that bothered her, because she's like, you're wasting your time. You're doing all. And she didn't understand until now, until more recently, that that was my way of emptying the toxins in my mind and my body so that I can be ready to take on the day again. It is extremely stressful to work in the industry that we work in, high pressure situations, a lot of client demands, and clients that sometimes don't give a flying A about what it is that you feel or think. They want what they want when they want it. And that was yesterday and right now in this way. And sometimes you got to just bite down and say, okay, I got to do it. This is the deal that we made. I promised to deliver something and you promised to pay me. You've held up your part in terms of paying me. Now I have to do the work. And so that's really difficult. And she thought I was kind of being distant, and it was just my way of protecting my mind. And so it caused a lot of problems for us. The second problem, here's a warning sign for you, is my wife, and the reason why we get along so well is she thinks she kind of has more of a masculine energy. So when I told her something was up at the office, she would want to try to solve it. Now, if you have a more feminine energy, you just listen and reflect, and you empathize. So she was trying to solve a problem that I didn't need her help in solving. So that compounded the problem. One, I couldn't relax and chill out. Two, she was giving me advice that was unsolicited and really not taking into consideration the entire picture. So these are challenges. So whenever I see a couple that work together, I applaud them. I say, good for you. You're, in my opinion, you're one of the unicorns out there, and God bless you. Keep doing it, whatever you're doing. But for me, I just could not do it. And since making that decision together with my wife, we've been happier and healthier, and everything has been much, much better by an exponential factor.
I love it. That's good advice. So one of the viewers, Ben Stegemuller, has actually submitted a couple questions,
Okay.
Kind of centered more around business structure. So the first one is, what should your business structure and position look like when you're making a leap from a solopreneur to employing 1 or 3 employees? So he's kind of digging more at cash flow, expenses, income ratio, or should the owner even pay themselves?
Okay. Lots of problems, or lots of things to talk about here. One, you need a legal structure. You need a legal entity. I highly recommend you start a LLC, a limited liability company, right away. It has a lot of the protections of being in a corporation, but it's a lot easier to manage. You don't have to do all the bylaws, and just there's a lot of complex things if you have a corporation. Why do you need that? Because one day, heaven forbid, you get sued, and they will come after everything you've ever made in your entire life, and sometimes for frivolous reasons, just because something weird happened and they have a claim against you. Now, the good news is you don't want to lose in a lawsuit like that, but at least if you have an LLC, you'll be walled off. They'll take the assets from the LLC, but they won't go after your personal savings. If you own a home or just your car even, that'll be protected. So you need to do that. The reason why you want to grow beyond a solopreneur operation is because you're getting a lot more work than you can handle. This is good news. Or perhaps you're charging a lot of money and you can afford to hire help. So this is a great motivation for you to start to learn how to charge more so that you can get additional help so you don't burn out. That's where it really kind of is miserable to just work by yourself. Sometimes you just feel like you're alone in the world, and it's nice to have a buddy, a friend from college, somebody else that you can lean on. It's like, oh man, it sucks, but we're here together. We're going to get through this together. It's nice to be able to have that. So this is where you start to divvy up the roles and responsibilities. And you have to ask yourself, what are the things that I do that are really hard to replace? Those are the things I must do and nobody else can do. And then everything else, you need to learn to delegate that and assign that to other people. Now, the general reaction is, I can never find anybody good as good as I am or as good as me. And that is true because they would own their own business. That makes sense. They're so good, they own their own business. So what you have to do is find somebody who you can train and level up and accept the fact that they will only be at their best day 70 to 80% of what you are. And that's totally okay. Because if you have two such employees, that's 160% of what you are, and that's 60% more than your 100% effort. And you learn to delegate and you level them up. And the way you do this too is you teach them about the way you think and the decisions that you're making. And they take it as far as they can. And you might swoop in at the last minute, do a little color correction, do a little tweak here and there, or just nudge things around. They learn from the experience, and you give it that old polish that nobody else can do but you. And over time, you will be able to afford more, and you will be able to hire somebody who's better than you. It will take a while, but you will get there. The whole point is not to get frustrated at them just because they don't do the things exactly the way you do it or as fast as you do it.
That's great advice. So his follow-up question is actually perfect with what you were just saying there. How do you find the talent, or how do you find people that are as creative or close to as creative as you are? And he's saying his company is actually patent design. So how do you find people that are creative?
Okay. Patent design? Pattern design.
Patent. So he designs the design for people's patents that they submit to the patent.
Wow. Okay. So they're drawings, they're technical drawings.
Correct.
Okay. I get it now. All right. So the process of finding people is a long process, and it just doesn't begin in the minute that you need it. And that's the problem. So if we look at, there's like 4 seasons in life, such as there's seasons within finding and grooming new people. So first you got to plant the seeds, right? Before you can harvest, you have to plant the seeds. So you should try to position yourself as an expert in patent design and put that information out there. So those that are looking to get into that field know who you are, and they'll start to submit their portfolios or their resumes to you. You probably need to teach somewhere to establish a reputation, and the best students are going to be the ones you're going to recruit. And you're doing that. You could host podcasts like the ones we're on, or host a YouTube channel just to teach people about how to do patent design. And so now that's a great way to pull people into what you do. And as you do that, you can actively go to job fairs. You can interview new graduates. People love to do mock interviews, and you could do that at no real pressure point to you to hire anybody. And you just keep doing that. So you're going to cultivate a database of people, and you may assign some variables to them, a price point and a skill level, experience, and an ease of working with them, because those are all very important. You might want to score them from, say, 3 to 5. Why not 1 to 5? Because 1s and 2s you don't even talk to. If they don't have enough skill, if they're too expensive and you can't afford them, that might be flexible. But if they're just gnarly to work with, you're going to just leave them off your list. So you got to build up the database. So when you have this, then when somebody has a need and you are at capacity, you can reach out to them and say, hey, I loved your work. I like the way you think. Can you help me out? I'd like to book you for the next 2.5 weeks. And that's how you do it.
That's genius. I like that. So let's kind of pivot more into your current projects and goals for 2018. So if you'd like to talk more about the future,
sure.
Something that I followed passionately and I love it, got into it recently in the last couple of months, but you want to basically completely shake up education. Can you talk more about that?
Yes. At the heart of where I'm coming from is this belief that the education system isn't necessarily broken. It's horribly efficient at doing something that we no longer need nor want. It's built around a system of memorization, not around learning. And that's part of the problem. And also the other problem is the cost of upper school, a kind of private school education, is that it's very expensive, at least in America. It's very, very expensive. And so you're going to be racked with student loans that you may or may not be able to pay off. You may or may not have the skills that you need to be employable. And these are problems. And I have to say this, and I feel very confident about this, but at least in our industry, where you went to school, what degree you got, or what you studied matters not at all. It all matters in what you're able to produce and show and how you're able to communicate and think. So I think even in the education system around design specifically, it's grossly outdated. It needs to incorporate way more skills and ideas than craftsmanship and learning about typography, color, and image making. You really need a better head on your shoulders to understand business, marketing concepts. You need to understand philosophy and some form of mass communication. Maybe it's rhetoric, like getting in front of a camera like the way you and I are talking right now, or debate or something like that. That's what you need to study to be a complete human, to be able to solve the problems that we don't even know about yet.
So then, question for you: how are you going to penetrate the up and coming generation? So for people that are myself that are 26, I can follow you online right now and reshape my thinking. But how do we kind of help restructure future learning?
Well, I can sit around and throw stones at the system, and a lot of people do that. I can rant online, I can tear systems down, but it takes a lot more energy to say, well, what's the better solution? Now, I've tried in the past, and I won't mention, at various organizations, professional organizations, and at different design institutions to say, I'd like to help. I see a problem. Can we shape something that is an alternative to what we're offering today to be more relevant and to be more engaging to the communities that we serve? They would listen, they would hear me out, and then they roll their eyes like some punk kid is trying to tell us what to do again. And I understand that. And the larger the organization, the harder it is for them to turn that ship. So I have to put my money where my mouth is. And I have to say, well, if I believe that there is a better alternative, well, what's stopping me from doing that? So about 3 years ago, I partnered up with my friend Jose Caballer, and we went and built a company, a platform. It was called The School back then. And for one reason or another, it didn't work out for us, and it was rebranded as The Future. And this is what we're trying to do now. We are trying to create the new paradigm of how people learn, one that doesn't care about where you're from, how much money you have, what time zone you're in. And so we're eliminating all the socioeconomic and geographic barriers to education. We want to connect the most exciting, charismatic, knowledgeable instructors from all over the world, help them to develop a super dynamic curriculum, and then to be able to offer that to the masses for as little money as possible. Now, we've offered a typography course for $99. Those are the people who've taken it will swear this is too little money. It should be X times higher. And the temptation is, yeah, let's change the price. Let's make more money. But then that would go against my other thing, which is I don't want education to be for the elite. People that have means and power and wealth, they already have all the advantages of the world. And the great leveling of the playing field occurs with education. And this was ingrained into me by my dad as we came to this country with nothing in our pockets and looking for a new home. America welcomed us in as refugees from Vietnam. And now that I have some semblance of success, it's time for me to send that elevator back down to help the next generation. Because to me, this is the rest of my life's work.
So then, question for you: you have a son who recently started a YouTube channel, if I remember properly.
That's right.
How have you encouraged him to pursue his passions without, I guess, being the type of person that forces your passions on someone else?
Mm-hmm. I actually have two boys. One is 14 and one is 11, and they both are pursuing whatever it is that they want. I have to constantly remind myself that the rules that I lived under, the rules that I grew up in like get good marks, do well in science, math, reading comprehension, and all those things that used to matter. All I do is remind myself and my wife that let's watch. What does he want to do? He loves to draw. He likes to dance. He plays music. He's not great at all things. So when he doesn't do well, we have to remind ourselves it's okay. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what school he gets into, or even if he gets good grades, or even if he graduates. That's not important to me at all. So I am not pushing him to do anything. So the idea is he walks around like little kids do. They see what dad does. It seems exciting. And then he's like, what are you doing? And so one thing that we truly enjoy that's very special for my youngest boy who you saw on the show today is we draw together all the time. And we have fun little things. Like when he was much younger, he would sit in my lap and I would draw in front of him, and then I would hand him the pen and he would draw. And oftentimes my wife would say his drawings are better than yours because he has incredible line control. He most of the times he doesn't even draw with pencil. He just gets out an ink pen and starts drawing. And that's his thing. So he has a gift for that. He has an incredible visual memory too. So if he needs to draw an owl or a pig or a giraffe, he seems to remember the essential parts of the animal that he can draw. And most people are like, wow, that's a giraffe. And he's had this from when he was very young. That's how we kind of do things together. And now he's like, Dad, can you set me up with a camera, microphone? Like, how do I need to introduce myself? And so we will practice in the car about how to do that. I even teach him about SEO and titling and keyword, all that kind of stuff. And it's fun for us to do together.
That's so cool. I mean, just the world we live in nowadays is blowing my mind. I mean, even in the podcast you guys were doing earlier today, he mentioned that he wants to play more games with you. And literally on the spot, you were able to say, well, why don't we start another product or another podcast where we play video games together? And I just think that's so cool that you're able to do that nowadays. But for those watching at home, the links are already down below. Please make sure you go to his website, check out the future, get involved. But Chris, what other ways can people get involved in right now? Do you have a monthly subscription, or do you just have set courses people can do?
Yes, there are a range, and thanks for asking that. There are a range of things that you can do to get involved with what we're doing, things that cost $0 and things that actually cost money. So let me run down the spectrum, the buffet of choices that you have here. First, you can just tune in and watch what we do on YouTube. You can also watch us on Facebook at The Future. And you can see that we have over 400 public videos. We've made over 487 videos, not all of which you can see, on a variety of topics, including the business of design, typography, graphic design, logo design, those kinds of things. We typically are speaking to the people in the creative space, but not necessarily designers. And a lot of what we talk about, as we're finding out, is transferable to other industries that are not related to graphic design at all. So we encourage you to watch. You can subscribe, you can comment, you can like, you can share. And that would be tremendous for us if that's all you did. If you want to step up in terms of your level of commitment, we're kind of adopting the NPR, National Public Radio PBS model, where in order for us to do what we do and to grow the channel and to hire more people to help make more content that's relevant to you, we're asking people to make a donation of $5 a month and commit to that. And we're trying to get that number to be 10,000 people per month. And that'll allow us to do some pretty incredible things. I'm sorry, it's 20,000. That's the goal. Let's take another step up. You can purchase any one of the many products that we make to help yourself. So you don't have to give us something and get nothing in return. You can buy kits and courses, and they range from $29 all the way up to $500. You can hire me as a coach, business consultant, and that's kind of expensive at $500 an hour. And then you can also join the pro group, which is about 200 people right now, where we have weekly calls every single Wednesday, and you get to join this group of amazing people and entrepreneurs, find a peak performance partner. You get access to other kinds of content, and we talk at least once a week. That's how you can become engaged in our community.
I love it. It's incredible. Guys, please, please, please check out the links down below and go join the community, or even start watching some of the YouTube videos today. But Chris, I want to respect your time. So I'm going to ask you the last question I ask everybody that comes on the show. And that is there anything that's on your heart or on your mind right now that you want people to know about? And that can either be about you or a specific cause.
On my heart and on my mind. I don't know, Jordan. That's a really good question. As I'm traveling the world and getting to talk to so many people, I see such common themes that it feels like there is an oppression of the creative spirit and the creative people and creativity throughout the world. That's because the world has gotten a lot smaller through technology, and certain enterprising individuals have created marketplaces to purchase designs for very little money. So what I would encourage you guys to do is to get off those platforms. Don't let somebody else market your services for you because they control the engagement, but rather position yourself as a professional, as an expert within a specific field, so that you can start to get paid the price that you deserve. And that to me would make me really happy, because my larger goal in life is to really and literally impact the lives of 1 billion people, billion with a B, for the better. I want to improve your life. I want to help you double your rate. I want to help you figure out a breakthrough creative moment, or how to talk to a client or a partner. And that to me is what my legacy will be.
I love it. That's awesome. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Would love to have you on in the future, maybe in a year from now, to see how things are growing for you. Guys, please, again, go down to the links below, go support them, and check out their content. Everybody
Thanks,
have a great, happy holidays. And Chris, thank you so much for being on again.
Thank you, and happy holidays.